So we've talked about generating a leads list. Really, really, really important for marketing that we know who we're going to sniper in on. Today, we're going to be talking about messaging. Has anyone read this book? Mark's read it. Nice. Sarah's read it. Kelly's read it. Few
I
people.
think I've listened to a podcast of the same name. Don't know if it's the same people.
I really like Donald Miller. I think he's very good when it comes to marketing. He wrote a really good book called Marketing Made Simple, which I've been recommending for ages. And he's got a methodology which is all about matching your marketing messages to the same structure that they use in Hollywood films. It's really good. By the end of this session, I'm going to help you to understand how to create a one-liner. So you've got a short message for the business. We'll help you turn that into a well-defined 60-second elevator pitch. We're going to talk about how we create messaging that's tailored for outreach, because how many of us do proper outreach, like direct mail or email marketing? Does anyone do that? Kelly a little bit, Julia a little bit, some more than others. This might not surprise you, but we're definitely going to be doing that in weeks 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we're going to create some messaging around that today. We're also going to talk about addressing common objections and stuff like that. So let's get into it. So week 3 is all about messaging. We're going to craft compelling messaging that really is going to resonate with your target market. And then next week, we're going to go into building a marketing plan that is more than just what am I going to post on social media, which basically, in my experience, most people, when you go marketing, their immediate thought is the free stuff, which doesn't cost them anything, and they do it on social media. But there's much more to marketing, as marketing experts will tell us, I'm sure, next time. So I'm going to introduce you to StoryBrand and its framework, the 7 steps. Donald Miller talks about the hero and the guide. Most of us think that we're the hero in our story, but and most of us frame ourselves as the hero in our marketing. But what Donald says actually is that none of us are the hero in our story. If we want to create compelling messages, we need the hero of the story to be the client. We're going to talk about how to frame your client as the hero and you as the guide that's going to solve all their problems. The 7 steps of the building a story brand process. You start with the character in the story. That's your client. He's the hero. She's the hero. The framework goes that when you're watching a film, in almost every film, you meet the hero. Then the hero, you're introduced to a problem that the hero is trying to overcome. They're facing something externally or philosophically or whatever. At some point early on in that film, we meet the guide, the person that's going to help them to provide the solution, to show them the way. That person gives them a plan on how to solve the problem and encourages them to come with them on this journey, a direct call to action. The story continues that it helps that person to achieve success and avoid failure. There's got to be in the story a little bit of something spicy to make it, I need to go this way. Of all of the messaging templates I've come across for marketing, in my opinion, this one makes a really interesting, compelling story, and that's the one that we're going to focus on today. Robin has been hard at work creating this template for you. If you download your copy now, please remember to save it as a new file and then add it to the existing files that you've already got. Download it, files, save as, and then add it to the new worksheet. We are going to start by defining the client's problem. In StoryBrand, he breaks it down into 3 levels. You've got external problems, the tangible surface level challenge that your client is facing. You've got internal problems, the emotional struggles that arise from those external problems. And then finally, philosophical problems, the large ethical or moral concerns, which is really the why behind the problem. So we're going to go back to Nikki's example back in week 1. You're welcome, Nikki. Nikki has some biotech clients and they're facing an external problem, which is struggling to communicate their complex science to investors. In a nutshell, that's what we established was the issue. Their internal problem may be that they're feeling frustrated or anxious about not being understood. And the philosophical problem essentially is that innovations that can save lives shouldn't be overlooked because they're difficult to explain. So there's 3 separate levels of problem that we can tap into for our avatar. Is anyone feeling really brave? Who?
I'm feeling brave.
I love that you're
Feeling brave.
Thank you for feeling brave. Right, okay, so let's talk about your avatar. Remind the gang, they might not even know, who your specific avatar is.
Right, okay. So my avatar is 40, 50s, males, educated to a degree in SMEs with limited budget. They might be managers or department heads, usually STEM. They're interested in computer systems, engineering, 3D printers, bots, technology, all the rest of it. Personality-wise, they are innovators. They're curious about new shiny things. Do you want me to go on to what keeps them up at night? And
Yeah,
what
let's do it.
So they want to comply with the law, unemployment, retention, and engagement. Their pain points is employees are absent, lack of engagement, low productivity. That's the challenge. The pain point is they've got too much information with regards to the line of work I do, mental health and neurodiversity, too little guidance, too much noise everywhere, and they don't know where to start. The concern they have is they want to comply with the Equality Act. They don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't want to be sued, and they don't want to be discriminating towards any employee that might be neurodivergent or they might have mental health challenges.
Let's identify the external, obvious surface level challenge that exists for that client.
The external problem I think they might have is being seen as an employer that doesn't comply. So being seen as not diverse employer, and that will have an impact on whether people would apply for roles within their organization or not, I think.
Guys, what do you think about that? Do you feel like that's the external problem?
It's keeping and retaining staff, isn't it?
I might suggest that would be closer. I feel like, Olga, the stuff that you were talking about is more internal and philosophical.
Okay.
Anyone else got any ideas on that?
Pete, it could be, it's just along those lines of keeping and retaining staff. External things might be that they've got high staff churn, they've got people complaining and unsatisfied in their roles. There might be customer complaints because the staff aren't happy.
Right, yeah.
These would all be external situations. They can't provide the depth of service because they just can't find the right people. Is that right, Pete? Is that helpful?
Yeah. Thank you, Sue. We'll move on. Your clients need to have a clear plan to feel confident to working with you. there's a simple 3-step plan that we can use, which is really effective. So for Nikki, we need to talk about meeting the needs of the science community and how you communicate that. Create engaging visuals that simplify the message whilst keeping the science intact, and then presenting your work confidently, ensuring it resonates with the investors. But it's really important to have a clear plan on how your client's going to feel secure in your process and capabilities. Next up, we're going to talk about creating a one-liner. So the client's journey, remember that we're really trying to focus on the client's problem first and then positioning yourself as the guide. So again, for Nikki, her one-liner could be, biotech companies are struggling to communicate their complex science. The problem makes it hard to attract the investors they need. The guide, hi, I'm Nikki. I'm here to help you turn complex science into clear, engaging visuals that can be easily understood. And then the success part, the result, this way, your innovations get the funding and innovation that they deserve. When you tie those 4 things together into a one-liner, you might get biotech companies struggle to explain complex science to investors. I create clear, engaging visuals that help them secure funding. So you see how we've taken that 4-step process, the hero, the problem, the guide, and the result. We've written a line for each and then condensed it down. It's actually 2 lines, but it does the job. One of the jobs you're going to need to do is create this one-liner for yourself. So you're going to go through that process on the spreadsheet, talking about the hero, the problem, the guide, and the result. And then from there, you're going to turn that into a one-liner that is really punchy, that talks directly to the target market. Next up, we're going to talk about 60-second elevator pitches. So you've all got avatars. You will create your one-liner or 2-liner. For me, the most compelling elevator pitches go a little step further than just talking about the meat in the middle. The ones that make me stand up and pay attention when you're in a room of people going, hi, my name's James and I'm an accountant and I do these books for people. The ones that get my attention always have some form of hook at the beginning. A hook is something that is a bit of a pattern interrupt, something that people wouldn't typically expect. I like to use stats, numbers, or something funny that makes it a little bit different. Then you'd create the hook at the beginning, and then at the end, because most people start with, hi, my name's James and I'm an accountant. For me, I think it makes it much more interesting to have the call to action at the end. So you would go through the elevator pitch that we've just created for Nikki, and then at the end, you'd say, my name's Nikki. I'd love to talk to you if you can relate to any of the challenges that I've just talked about. So it's about being memorable. For Nikki, I actually created one for you. And Nikki might say, as a bit of a pattern interrupt, I've been shocked to learn that 85% of biotech startups fail to secure funding, not because their science isn't groundbreaking, but because investors simply don't understand it. If you know a biotech company that developing groundbreaking innovation, but they're struggling to explain their complex science to investors in a way that non-techie people can understand, without communication, it's hard to attract the right funding they need. My name's Nikki. And I help biotech companies to turn complex science into clear, engaging visuals that help non-experts easily understand, which will ensure that their innovations stand out, they're able to secure funding and get the partnership they need to make an impact. Like I said, I'm Nikki, and if you know someone in the biotech world, I'd love to help them really stand out and be understood. In a room full of fish in the biotech world, I think people would come up to you and ask for your business card. I would love for you all to create this elevator pitch over the next week. Now that you've got your one-liner and elevator pitch, let's talk about some of the different messaging that we're going to use for different communication channels. So we're going over the next 5 weeks to focus on marketing specifically into 4 different channels: LinkedIn, email outreach, and direct mail. LinkedIn will have 2 separate strands to it. The channels will all require slightly different approaches, but they'll all follow the story brand framework that we've talked about earlier on. LinkedIn, for example, we're going to keep our messaging really short, direct, and relevant, focusing on solving their pain points and making it easy for them to take the next steps. With email outreach, it's going to be similar to LinkedIn, but it will be concise and focused on the client's pain points. It will allow for a slightly longer message than on LinkedIn. With direct mail campaigns, this is the one we have had so much success with over time. I'm absolutely confident that you will have success with it too. It's a really good opportunity for you to get creative and become memorable, because it's much less common. How many of us ever receive anything in the post? Most other people don't do it. I'm going to encourage you in subsequent weeks to really be creative with this. Make it tactile, make it unusual, and we're going to make really clever messaging around that. And one of the things that I would like you to do, I've seen things like people sending one flip-flop with an address on it, and on the back of the flip-flop is a note that says, "Now I've got my foot in the door, let me send you the other flip-flop, let's have a coffee." You've seen the direct mail stuff that we've sent. We send all sorts of stuff. The pill, we send different cards. Some people send postcards. Has anyone seen anything really creative? Has anyone seen or heard of any really cool direct mail, lumpy mail style marketing? Go on, Sue.
Yeah, I did one a while back when I was in an agency, which we called the Message in a Bottle campaign, targeting specific. We sent sort of SOS messages and built up the campaign till we actually sent them a bottle with a rolled up, scrolled up message inside it, specially delivered. And that won us a large client.
Amazing. How much did you spend on the bottles in relation to how much you made on the contract, do you reckon?
It was a long time ago, so I can't remember the cost. This is where you guys can be clever. It was a marketing agency, so they overspent on the packaging. I tea stained some paper and put string on it to pull it out. I can't remember sorting the bottle. In terms of the contract, it was a very small amount that we spent to the contract that we won at the end. Yeah.
So we started sending Think and Grow Rich to every new mastermind prospect. They book onto a taster, and part of the process is they get a nice copy of Think and Grow Rich. It's like a matte black Think and Grow Rich. They get a brochure. It's really nicely packaged. Sarah wraps it beautifully with tissue paper. Each book costs us a tenner, and our conversion rate based on, so it probably costs us 15 quid all in to send it, but our conversion rate's gone from about 25% to about 60%. That's nuts. For 15 quid, Brad Sugars talks about buying customers. If you're buying a customer for 15 quid and you're going to make 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 quid out of them, you'll do that thousands of times, won't you? So my challenge to you all is to think about something that you could do in a really small, cost-effective way to try it out. Because here's the thing, when we go back to the reticular activating system and we go, on average, how many sales messages do you receive on LinkedIn a day?
Oh, loads.
How many?
I think I've probably had 10 today.
10 today?
Uh,
Awesome.
5 to 8 a day.
Huh? Perfect. How many sales emails do you get on a daily basis? Like someone reaching out to you directly, trying to sell you something? 10. 10
I
for
probably get about 10.
Good 20.
10 to 20.
Mm.
All right, cool. What do we think our reticular activating system does to these messages, gang?
Ignore them eventually.
Delete.
Not even read them.
We're so full. We are at our limits of what we can do because we're busy running businesses, trying to survive the day and not kill our kids and all of the rest of it that's going on. And all of a sudden, when there's people overtly trying to sell you stuff, you just go, oh, don't pitch slap me, dude.
So, so on this, Kelly's got a really good question in the chat.
All right.
At this point, we're just talking about prepping these ideas, right? Kelly's question is, at what point do you send it?
It's a great question. Have you identified 30 people that match your avatar, that you believe have got a pain point that you can solve, that you believe can afford to pay you the money that you want to charge? Kel.
I have. What, you send them a random gift?
Yeah, why not? You want to get noticed.
That's what you're doing. The book Pete was talking about is people who are confirmed onto a taster. So they have already had a conversation. We've also sent presumptuous direct mail, which is a lot less cost than that, to complete cold contacts, which had a really good conversion rate.
Yeah, it's come back to me. The stuff that we've done has come back, which is great. We've sent letters with 1 penny on it and the story about
In your own luck.
creating your own luck. Here's a lucky shiny penny.
Yeah.
Yay! Yay!
One of our very first campaigns, Pete's touched on it already through this course, is the cod liver oil tablet and the scroll. How are you going to improve your brain power, like your skill set, through the cod liver oil tablet or through joining a mastermind group?
So look, let's just dwell on this for a second, gang, because it's really, really, really important. In this room, Julia Kendall, wonderful human being who I've got to know really nicely and well over the last 6 months. We sent 300 1 pennies for a total cost of £3.
Plus the letters and the stamps. The postage was the most expensive part.
The postage cost us, what, £1 a stamp or something?
Yeah.
And this is my point. Julia wasn't the only person that bought in from that. Should we do it again? Yes or no? Was it a profitable marketing campaign?
Yes, clearly.
Yes.
Did we do something that got your attention, Julia?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you why. It just happened to be the right thing arriving on the right day. So yeah, so I guess out of 300, there's going to be one person, a couple of people are going to go, oh yeah, on that day. But that's what you need, isn't it? That's all you need.
So when I said last week, you need 200, and everyone went, fucking. If I'd have only sent 30 and Julia wasn't on that list, what would have happened?
Well, we wouldn't have had the same return.
We wouldn't
the same spend.
We wouldn't be blessed having Julia in our gang. So you owe it to yourselves to build a list, and you owe it to yourself to do what Rebecca's done and go, I'm going to pay someone 60, 80, 100 quid from people per hour to build me a list. So I've got people that I can send stuff to. Because if you do that, you'll get customers. I promise you, the challenge, that's what's going to happen. So tailoring our messaging for different channels is really important. The real thing here is consistency is going to be the winning thing in the end. What's up next? Addressing objections. We talked in week 1 about objections and identifying the things that might stop people from buying it to you in the first place, and overcoming objections early is really a useful thing to do. Story brand suggests that you should emphasize resolving concerns before they arise. Your clients might worry about cost or whether your service is right for their needs. For example, so Nikki might face, we're concerned about cost. The response would be, I can offer you flexible, phased projects that grow with your needs over time so that we can start small and scale as you need to. Now we know what's at stake. With engaging visuals, your biotech innovations will capture investors' attention, securing all the funding you need to make the right impact. Adding the spice or the salt to that so you can see what success looks like, but you also need to add the salt, which we've not added on to the slide. The hero meets the guide who shows them the way or shows them the plan and invites them to come on a journey with them, and they go on the journey and they avoid failure and they go to the promised land or to success. That's the formula that we looked at earlier on. The bit that's missing here is the failure part. And I think it's absolutely okay for you to talk about in that objection by saying something like, without clear communication, you're going to risk missing out on the vital funding that your innovations could require, and they will remain undercover or under the radar. So a quick recap. Identify your pain points, goals and values. Use the story brand to position your client as the hero. Create a clear plan. Give people a 3-step process to follow. So 3 simple steps to get them to where they want to get to. Develop a one-liner, turn it into an elevator pitch, and then we need to tailor messaging for LinkedIn, email and direct mail. And all the time having in the back of your mind that we're going to need to address the challenges or the objections up front.